Australian team. It's your boy Neal back with another reaction video, guys. Here we are with what makes an Australian. 60 Minutes Australia. I'm intrigued. You know what I'm saying? I know Australians laid back, chill vibes. You know what I'm saying? Great balance of work and home life. Slang, that is another language. Fearlessness, that's a big one. That's a big one right there. Fearlessness. What else makes an Aussie? I don't know. Let's find out. Before we jump in, make sure you subscribe to the channel, ring notification bell, get a video a thumbs up so it gets suggested. What you got?
To coin a phrase, who the bloody hell are we? What makes an Australian? Back in the convict days, the answer was simple. A criminal record, a British uniform, or a lust for land and adventure.
Back in the convict days. Keep it going, my
Now,
man.
though, it's much more complex. Certainly more complex than mateship, meat pies, and a beer at the footy. And just the other day, it became even tougher to be an Australian. You might have missed it, but the government has begun the biggest overhaul of our citizenship laws in 60 years. Later, too, there's the prospect of an Aussie values test for migrants to make sure we're all true blue. It's a change that affects every one of us. And as you'll see, a story just made for Charles Woolley.
Talk to me.
Australia Day in the year 2007, and in suburban Brunswick, the taste of
Freaking kids are adorable, man. Absolutely adorable.
modern Australia is at once familiar
Got the
and
Barbie
exotic.
going.
No, we're going to have Australian barbecue cooked Lebanese way.
All right, okay, so this is
One of my sisters.
the blending of the cultures.
Yes.
Okay,
Australian, Lebanese.
right for that.
Like 1/4 of Australians, Zaf Saad was born overseas, a Muslim immigrant from Lebanon. It's been a successful cultural trade. As we have taken to Lebanese tucker, so has he embraced Australia.
I've spent 30 years of my life here. Now, I was born in Lebanon, which is fine. This is my country. I belong here.
Yeah, we can hear it in the accent, my guy. You definitely have your accent is definitely Australian. Definitely Australian.
Because I love it.
Zaf's father, Abood, the chain-smoking kingpin, as he's known around here, arrived in 1970 with
I'm sorry to keep pausing, but the chain-smoking kingpin.
nothing. Back then, a job and hard work was seen as qualification enough to start a new life here. But today, the government wants to test their grasp of Australian values before immigrants can become citizens.
You can't force them to have some sort of test because nobody would pass it.
What did you know when you came here?
I knew nothing. People used to call me names. I never used to know what they mean. But then, as I got older, I was used to, you learn the language because I wanted to learn. But I was a kid anyway, I had to learn. If I didn't learn, I used to get a whack behind the ear from my father.
I feel like, yeah, you definitely got to.
Now, I should declare a personal interest in this story.
I'm not alone.
Oh, look what you brought with you.
I was a migrant myself, and it was in rural Tasmania that my mum Ella and my dad Charlie started their new life.
My dad, the pioneer.
I remember all that, yes.
In 1952, the Woolies emigrated from the gloom of post-war Scotland. Unlike most of today's immigrants, they went bush as pioneers in the hydropower business. It was a big decision, but 50 years later, they have no regrets.
One of the things I admired about the Australians is their optimism. No matter what happened, they thought something better was going to happen.
I love it. A high level of optimism, I absolutely love, man. You gotta always believe that something greater is around the corner. You gotta always believe that, hey, even if it's raining today, right, the sun will come out tomorrow. I'm definitely an optimist. I know there's pros and cons to be an optimist, pros and cons to be a realist. I don't see any pros to being a pessimist. But definitely, I'm definitely on the optimist side of the scale.
They shed a tear. That's what used to surprise me. Now they do, but in these days they didn't.
Australians didn't cry.
They didn't cry. They say, well, we've got to begin again.
You spend a lot of time.
Australia has been good to them. Dads never had a day out of work. At 89, they're great-grandparents, and I would say model citizens. But would they pass the government's test?
How would you feel about being tested then?
We wouldn't like it at all.
I don't suppose I would like it, Charles. I would do it. I don't think I'd like it.
How would
I
you
feel
go
that.
today? I mean, do you know the batting average of the Don, for instance?
No.
Oh, no.
Continuing, Dad, here's a tough one for you. Who was the first Prime Minister of Australia?
Barton. Barton.
Barton.
Well done! Charles Woolley, you are an Australian citizen. With a little help from
Like my parents, most of us might battle to answer the sort of questions a bureaucrat might ask. And anyway, just what are Australian values?
Yeah, I feel like when they be doing these citizenship tests here in America too, bro, I feel like they ask questions that honestly, like, I see like a mock, not like the real American citizenship test, but I've seen like interviews on people who took it, and I've seen like you can take the quiz online. Of course, it's not, but it's like, bro, like I don't know half of these answers, and I've been here my entire life, and I don't know half these answers. And so I feel like people be having to study a lot of stuff that I feel like a lot of natives in that country, a lot of citizens that were born there do not know half the answers to.
I'm turning to our history for help. Remember, our nation's founders arrived in chains, so let's begin in the old Nick.
Freedom. Freedom, Charles. You know, that's what Australia's all about, freedom.
Former bank robber Bernie Matthews has spent 18 years behind bars in some of Australia's most notorious prisons.
Maybe it means more to me because I've been on the inside of the wall and looked at freedom, but that's what Australia's all about.
No one appreciates freedom so much as someone who's looked out on the world through bars.
Yeah, someone who's had it taken away from them, yeah.
Like convicts 200 years before him, Bernie's done his time and emerged a better man because of what he believes is a great Australian virtue, optimism.
No, there was always a light at the end of the tunnel, Charles. You have that light at the end of the tunnel. Once that's extinguished, well, there is no hope. And I guess hope, everything gets predicated on hope.
And do you think maybe that's where the Australian notion that in the end things will work out, she'll be right, came from?
I think that notion's, it's inbuilt the same as our convict heritage. It's all part and parcel of Australia, isn't it?
In recent times, though, there's been some doubt over whether she really will be right. Our tolerant and easy ways have come under attack from the likes of Sheikh al-Hilali. And rarely in our peacetime history have we been so divided over what it means to be Australian.
Oh my Jesus.
Well, look, I reckon if they want to live in a country here, in Australia, they should abide by its laws. It's that simple.
And if they don't want to?
If they don't want to, they don't want to be here then.
That's right.
If they don't want to be here, they shouldn't be here. They should go back to where they came from. It's that simple. Once they've done everything...
Yeah, I feel like you can't move somewhere else and expect them to do things the way you want things to be done, or expect the laws to be what you want them to be. And if you disagree, then like start a riot about it. I feel like, yeah, if you decide to move somewhere, you're deciding to adjust to that place's way of life, to the culture in that area, to the lifestyle in that area, to the laws, to the rules in that area. You know what I'm saying? So I feel what my guy's saying.
Yeah, they shouldn't be here. They should go back to where they came from. It's that simple. Once they've done, everything's done.
For those like the Saad family, Australia has long been a haven for people looking for peace and escaping war. Yet foreign war looms so large in the Australian story. Our military exploits have done much to shape our idea of who we are as a nation. Even today, 3,000 of our defence men and women are serving around the world, half of them in Iraq, and like Corporal Rebecca Milne, proud of it.
You're an Australian who feels good about herself, aren't you?
Hell yes. I wouldn't put this uniform on every morning if I didn't feel that.
Corporal Milne's just returned from southern Iraq.
What gun is that? I ain't never seen that kind of gun before.
If I didn't feel that.
What kind of gun is that? They be having guns I ain't never heard of out here.
Corporal Milne has just returned from southern Iraq. 7 long months in the most dangerous place on earth. Her experiences leave her with no doubt about our most important core value.
I think our biggest one is our mateship, our unwavering support that if you've known someone 2 minutes or 2 years, you will go into bat for them, you will watch their back, you will support them.
Is this important looking?
That's one thing I missed in the beginning. Their sense of community, that mateship she's talking about, that caring about your neighbor, loving your neighbor. You know what I'm saying? Going, like she said, going to bat for them. If I'm doing good and maybe they're doing bad, hey, I'm gonna help them out. You feel me? I forgot that is definitely an Australian value.
That's my grandfather.
Corporal Milne's enthusiasm for Australia is underlined by a long military heritage, from her great-grandfather's service in World War I to her uncle's tour of Vietnam. She is the 4th generation of her family to join up and the first girl to do so.
And what do you think that these blokes contributed to the Australian character?
I think they're a definition of it. They're the larrikins. There's some of the photos there you can see where they were the larrikin character and they were doing their job and they had, absolute mateship.
Are you still allowed to do that in the modern Australian Army?
Definitely. And I think that's what helps us do our job, is if we've got that bit of character, that bit of real person in us, that's what helps us do the job.
I love it.
Long before diggers ever meant soldiers, the word described adventurers of a different kind.
It's not exactly instant gratification, is it?
Oh, it's not. Imagine doing this for 10 or 12 hours a day.
And today, Cordell Kent is a living embodiment of the great Australian tradition of get rich quick.
Look at that. That's gold, isn't it? What a thumping great piece, too.
Yeah, that's real gold.
Oh, wow.
The Kent family have struck it rich in modern times and built a golden business thanks to the timeless virtue of hard yakka.
We were on the bones of your ass, to quote yourself.
When we got married, we had nothing. We had nothing except our love for each other, and we worked really, really hard.
And you did all this on the back of gold?
Dude.
That's crazy.
In the 1850s and the roaring days of the old gold rush, the foundations for our modern democracy were laid. At the Eureka Stockade, Cordell's predecessors would fight for the right to find gold, convinced it was a noble cause, and the freedom they won lives on today.
We've got rights. They're important things. And if anything, we're guilty of taking our freedoms and our rights for granted.
And the right to prospect.
Absolutely. What better form of freedom is there to go out and dig up money? It's
That's
wonderful.
Facts. I'd love to go out and dig up some money. Take me with you, my guy. 10 or 12, give me a little 4-hour shift. I'll take a 4-hour shift. But I'd love to dig up.
The Eureka Uprising was fought under a rebel flag, the Southern Cross. Today, the Australian flag, still with the British Union Jack, has been embraced like never before. This summer, there was an uprising at the mere question of the flag being banned at a pop concert. Patriotism has become a booming Australian value, even if most of us still don't know the words to the national anthem.
Every time I hear the Australian national anthem, I do get goosebumps. Because I love it.
You get goosebumps when you hear the Australian national anthem.
Because I like
Our
it from the
land
heart.
is girt by sea.
Hey, mate, we're surrounded by sea.
Don't you think we need something a little more poetic?
Mate, who worries about poetic expressions or not, mate? We know what we mean, so we understand it. That's all that matters.
So we don't need all that poetic. We know what we talking about. And that's how I feel about the slang. Australians know that Australian slang. Everybody else, We out the loop.
Australia is indeed a country girt by sea. 80% of us live on its shores, a far cry from the days when just as many of us lived on the land. Out here, a young bloke, Charlie Prell, founded a fortune from the other gold, the golden fleece. Since the turn of the century, the Prell family have bred prize-winning, ribbon-wearing pieces of art.
Go on, don't go away. My grandfather had 35 men on the payroll.
Those were roaring days.
People were
for
happy.
farms in Australia.
They had no, they lived, they made their own fun.
But fortunes were made too.
Yes, oh, big ones.
Now, this is drier than you've seen.
Oh, I haven't seen it like this.
But those roaring days are now just a melancholy echo of better times. And with the ongoing drought and the changing climate of world trade, Jeff Prell and his wife Jess have never done it tougher.
I doubt if the rural world, as we know it, or Jeff has known it, or Jeff's grandfather has known it, will ever exist again here.
Grandfather Prell would turn in his grave.
He would, I know. I can feel him turning right now.
But before the sun sets and the Prell family dream, they're still surviving on what they believe are the core values of the bush.
I think self-reliance, initiative, independence.
Self-reliance, the ability to do it yourself, to fix it yourself, to make do.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Back in the big smoke, driving a cab to support his family, Zaf Saad has known hard times too. But for him and his family, this is still the promised land of plenty. Plenty of kids and plenty of dangerously strong black Lebanese coffee.
It's a sad family coffee.
There's nothing better than a country like Australia giving you a chance, a second chance.
Getting the second chance can make you love a place even more.
Of course it does.
This year, 100,000 new settlers will come here in search of their second chance. But first, they'll have to pass that test. A test of Australian values that may, in fact, be a contravention of Australian values.
When you're looking at a test like that, Charles, you're looking at somebody from a political standpoint or a policy-making view that isn't necessarily correct. It's their view.
It's a straightener and the regulator asking the questions.
Exactly. Exactly.
It does sound a bit like it's the warden rattling the door, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. It does.
After all, we've all been new settlers at some stage, and so far we've mostly passed the only test that was on offer to survive and thrive and to make our own contribution to the Australian character.
Zaf, thank you for introducing me to your considerable family.
No worries, mate.
And for all the coffee. I'm going to go away and think about it.
No worries, mate. Catch you.
Okay.
That's so awesome, man. Australia is such an awesome place, such a loving place with caring people. It's just an amazing country, an absolutely amazing country.
Hello, I'm Tara Brown. Thanks for watching 60 Minutes Australia. Subscribe to our channel now for brand new stories and exclusive clips every week. And don't miss out on our extra minutes, segments and full episodes of 60 Minutes on 9now.com.au and the 9Now app.
Yeah, that's absolutely dope, right? You got your mateship, you got your self-reliance, you got your freedom, you got your optimism, you got your prosperity, you got your community, you got it. You know what I'm saying? Australia just a phenomenal country. That's all we got. You guys got a favorite video suggestion, you can subscribe to Patreon or drop it in the comment section. It's your boy Neal. Out.